Good evening everyone. This video is going to be a quick explainer about few changes that have been introduced in the CLAT 2018 exam interface. Right now, let me make myself very clear. The changes have been introduced only in the test interface. The pattern of the exam has not changed, so please do not get confused and please do not worry at all. Right? It is just the exam interface, as in how the exam appears in front of you, what has changed. Right? Nothing else. The pattern is still the same. And in this video, we'll understand what are the major changes that have happened and how you can be prepared for it, right? Now, once you open up your CLAT website, you have an option to go into your admit card. You click on that, right? You fill in your login credentials, and once you log in, you get a page like this. Here, if you see, apart from your download admit card option, you have another option called reprint application and another one called take practice test. Now, some of you, I'm sure you've already taken the practice test and you've seen what are the differences that have come across. And over the last couple of days, we've been getting a lot of queries about, what are the actual changes and how are the changes going to get affected and implemented. So we'll just quickly go through all of those. So once you begin the exam, let's say, start the exam. These are random details. Since it is a sample test, you can just keep clicking. Now, if you see, a set of clear instructions has been given to you, I advise you all to go through these instructions once very, very carefully. We'll see all the major changes in this video also, but even then I strongly advise that you go back and read the instructions very, very carefully, right? Once you begin the exam, this is how your exam screen looks like. This is how your test screen looks like. Now, those of you who have been taking a lot of online mocks over the last couple of weeks or months, you would see that this is definitely slightly different from what you've been used to. What you were used to was something like this, right? Where the overall view of the test was in a left-right pattern, where the group question or the RC passages used to appear on the left, your question used to appear on the right, and the question palette used to appear on the extreme right corner of the page, right? This is how it used to look earlier. Now let's see what has happened. You have questions or group questions or RC passages given on top, and the actual question that you have to answer is appearing on the bottom. You still have the question palette coming up at the right end of the screen, right? So this is one change overall in terms of how it is, how you view the overall exam, right? Another major change that you can obviously see is, in the earlier case, you had tabs on top for sections, right? You had English, GK, math, legal, logical. So once you click on that tab, you used to go to that section directly and you could start answering questions from that section, right? Now, here what has happened, if you see, you don't see any tabs on top here. Instead, you see a drop down list, right? Now, be very clear. Once you open this, you can see that they have very clearly mentioned what question comes under which section, right? Questions 1 to 40, for example, are for English. Next, 41 to 90 are GK. 91 to 130 are logical reasoning, and so on, maths and legal aptitude, right? Now, order of section is very, very clearly mentioned, and also the number of questions that fall under that section. So even in case this order further changes on the day of your exam also, don't worry, you have the section name and the corresponding number of questions pertaining to that section, so you can easily navigate among them, right? Even on the instruction page, if you see, they have clearly mentioned about this sectional split. They have said that it is divided into the following sections with the questions marked against it, right? The candidates have the option to navigate across the sections using the options in the drop down box, which is exactly what we just saw, right? So let's say you want to go to the GK section directly, you click from the drop down list and you go there. Now, before we go ahead further, let me explain one thing. This is a sample test, okay? Understand, this is a sample test. So the question that you're getting under GK is not basically a GK question, right? It is some other random question. But understand, this is just a sample test, and some random questions have been picked up and created into a test just to give you an idea about how the test overall looks like, right? So don't worry. In the exam, once you click logical reasoning, you will actually get a logical reasoning question only under that, and you can continue with that section. 91 to 130 questions, all of them will come next, and you can answer those questions, right? Now, let's take a look at, so yeah, this part is clear that you can easily navigate among the sections, so do not confuse anything, no more confusions or no more doubts or no more worrying about it, right? Now, let's understand a few of the other changes. If you see, in the earlier case, you had options, you had buttons called mark for review and next, clear response, and save and next. These were the three major buttons that you had. right? Now let's see what you have. You have two buttons for next question and previous question. You have something called tag and you have something called erase, right? Please understand that tag is nothing but the same as your mark for review. For example, let's say answer this first question, right? Earlier you used to do a save and next. Now I'm simply doing a next question, right? The minute I move on to the next question, you see that the question number 1 has become green in color, which means that you have answered it, right? Let us say question number 2 is a question that I don't want to answer right now and I have tagged it. Tagged it meaning you have marked it for review, right? So I mark it for review, but I have not answered the question and I go ahead, right? You can see that this question has been marked orange in color or yellow, whatever. Next, let us say now I have marked this question, I mark this question and I answer this question and I also want to tag it, right? So I have tagged it, and when I move on to the next question, I see it is a purple in color. Purple in color to show you that you have answered the question, but at the same time you have also marked it for review. Another easy option for you is to just scroll down and see you have the number of questions that you have attempted, the number of questions you have tagged, and number of questions you have tagged and attempted and not yet attempted. You have that clear summary given here, so which is going to make it very, very simple, right? So that is with respect to your mark for review button, which has now been replaced by tag and detag. Now let's say you want to go to this question again and you now want to remove the tag, you simply do a detag. And you move to the next question, it becomes green because remember you had already answered this question. So unless you change it, that answer will be taken, right? Now, another option you see here is the erase button. Earlier, if you see, if I marked an answer and now I want to erase it, what do? I do a clear response. Now understand the difference. If I have to change from B to D, I can simply click on D and it will get changed. But if I want to erase it, meaning I don't want to answer this question now, I had to click on clear response, this option. That was the case earlier. Now what has happened, let's say this is question number, let me go back to question number 3 and I want to remove this, right? If I have to change it, I can pick the suitable option, but if I have to remove this, I just need to click on erase and it's done, it's gone. Now when I move to the next question, you see question 3 is not marked at all, meaning it is a question that I have not yet attempted. Clear? So major changes in the button is only in terms of this erase button, which is nothing but a clear response, and the tag detag button, which is nothing but a mark for review and save response, right? That is the only change that has happened in terms of the buttons, right? And one more thing, earlier there was no button for a previous question, meaning from 64 if you had to go to 63, you had to choose the question from the palette. But now you have the option of going to the previous question also, another extra button is given to you, right? You can choose to do that, or you can pick up the question from the palette and go to that particular question also, which is fine, right? Now, if you see one of the instructions in this here as well as in your admit card tells you very clearly that you should not click the next question button too many times, right? Understand, it does not mean to say that you can't navigate to the next question. No, you can definitely navigate. What it simply says is, you just have to click the next question button only once. Don't click it multiple times. The system, there's a chance that the system gets hanged, right? So that's the only thing that they're trying to say, which is an obvious thing. We all know that it will get hanged, right? So just click it once and wait for it to move to the next question, right? So you click in next and the question changes, right? Other than that, I don't see any major changes that is going to affect you pretty badly. There's no change that is going to, affect you too much. So just go around it and see, like I said, go ahead and look at the instructions very, very carefully. Take the exam, take the sample test once for yourself, practice around, what all you can do. Just get a good feel about the overall test, and then you will feel more confident, right? Another thing that one of the points here says is that on the day of the exam also you will be required to take a sample test before you actually start the main exam. So that is a very good case for you. So before you start the exam, a similar sample test will be opened up. So you can go ahead, look through all the options, familiarize yourself with the entire interface, and then go ahead confidently to answer the exam. One major change that I see here is that earlier you had an option called question paper, right? When you clicked on that, you were able to see the entire question paper in one go, right? All sections one after the other, you could just scroll and go through the questions. That is probably one option which has been missed out of this new interface. But again, I would suggest, please do not think too much about that one particular point and worry about it, right? Most of you guys didn't even know that that option existed before also, right? So you hardly ever used it. So just because it is not there right now, don't think of new problems and try to confuse yourself too much, right? That is not going to change anything, right? So I hope this video has given you some clarity about how the new interface is going to work, and at least solved some of your queries about, you know, how it is going to be, whether or not you will be able to navigate between sections, between questions and all of that, right? So like I said, again, go ahead, take the practice test, read through the instructions very carefully, and please feel free to get back to us in case you have any doubts. But again, one thing remember, there has been no change in the pattern at all. It is only and only change in the interface of the exam. So please do not worry unnecessarily about how it is going to impact you. It will not impact you. You guys have worked really hard for a long time now, and it is the last couple of days left before your exam. Don't try to pressurize yourself with unnecessary doubts and confusions, right? Go ahead with a calm mind, be cool, be confident, and give it your best shot. I'm sure you all will do very well. All right. Thank you guys. All the best for CLAT 2018. Thank you.